How's it going, everyone? This is Kevin. Today I want to bring along with me to see if I can get away using my lenses that do not have IBIS, like the Tamron 17-28 and 35-150, and only rely on the A7iv in-camera stabilization. So let's jump right into it. So if you're anything like me, you kind of have lenses that, don't have IBIS because those tend to be quite pricier than the lenses that I've gotten myself. The Sony G Master lenses sound phenomenal, and I'm sure they are, chef's kiss when it comes down to performance with the autofocus stabilization that most of them tend to have. But the one thing that I do not like is the price point for each lens. And personally, I've been asked a lot if the Tamron 17-28 and the 35-150 are fine to use with just the in-body camera stabilization when it comes down to the A7iv or the Sony A7S III. Since both of these lenses do not have in-body, stabilization like some other of those Sony lenses tend to have. And I thought it'd be a great day just, to go out and do some sunrise kind of photo shoots that I was planning to do today and bring along with me to kind of vlog with this setup and see how well it holds. So the question of the day is going to be, can you get away with the A7iv in-camera stabilization? For the short answer, since if some of you don't want to wait, is yes. I mean, I've been using basically the setup with my Tamron 17-28 for the vlogging part of my videos with the Sony A7S III using the active stabilization. So short answer, yes, it can work. But we're going to see how well it can work with, doing more of the movements that I want to do, and also using the 35-150 for some video taking, since I know some people are curious to know more on the telephoto side of the basically of the lens to see with the camera stabilization and how it handles it. Because when I still have my Sony A7 III, I even was using the 17-28 with it for the vlogging part of my videos, and it still worked pretty great in my honest opinion. But with the updated of the A7iv and the A7S III with the in-camera stabilization, which is fairly better in my honest opinion, I think it'll be kind of cool to see how well it holds up, just to see if you notice any very major jitters or anything like that as well. Now it's time to go get some nice sunrise out here because it's 6:52 a.m. and the sunrise starts around like 7:10-ish. And that way we can get some, examples for you guys to view and have a nice, lovely morning together. And now, full disclosure, I don't really ever use the warp stabilization in post-editing, but I might test out some stuff if I notice, it's very jittery, but I'll show you the before and afters, and I'll, tell you up front how it is, if I used it or not. If you see a little bit of a caption saying that I used it, then you know that I used it. But if it's not on there, then I didn't use it. So now, in all honesty, the reason why I don't like using warp stabilizer because it can be kind of jello-y looking, and also it takes so long to process, and most of the time I'm kind of lazy about it. So I've learned to not be a perfectionist when it comes down to a lot of these, especially YouTube videos. If it's more for the client work, yes, I want to be as professional as I can be and as, kind of perfect as much as I can of the situation of every video. But despite of that, I also don't like to just overdo the warp stabilization unless it's a must-have and I know it can save the footage because of some micro jitters or something like that. But if I'm able to get it in camera as best as possible, I tend to let it be just how it is. And one of the other reasons is because I don't really have a stabilizer or gimbal that I could use for my camera yet. I did place an order for one because it was on sale and it's on the weight limit that can actually handle my Tamron 35-150. So I'm excited to test that out. So once it arrived, to show you guys, how to balance out and everything a Tamron 35-150, since it's a little bit of a heftier boy with a gimbal, and see if that makes a huge difference when it comes down to my videos, which, it's comparing tomatoes to oranges or whatever the saying might be in English, but that you obviously get different types of comparisons. Obviously handheld versus gimbal is the gimbal should be a lot smoother, but that's one of the reasons why I decided to kind of go for it, especially because it was on sale. So I'm excited to test it out just to see the difference on that. Well, this is me, you know, walking normally how I would when I'm like vlogging out here. Just using the 17 to 28 Tamron right now. Everything that I've been shooting has been at 4K 24 frames per second, if that kind of matters, because obviously I know that people kind of say that you can just say, basically just record in slow motion to stabilize your footage, which obviously that's pretty great. It does work. But not everybody's going to be shooting at 120 frames per second or 60 frames per second, so this is a 4K 24 frames per second. This is the section that I want to be, you know, catching the sunrise. Is a very beautiful area. Despite of all the cars driving by that are very noisy, I enjoy this area quite a bit because the water just looks nice. You get some birds and, you know, you get to capture some nice photos out here if the lighting is nice. I think it's time to basically start testing the 35 to 150 with some video and the IBIS out here, since the sunrise is coming in and the birds are out here, and see what else we can, you know, get to do. So the area out here is quite lovely. I mean, you can't get nicer than this in a sunrise right now. The sun is slowly peeking through some of the buildings over there that I was able to take some, you know, B-roll footage, and got to take some cool photos right now. But I did notice myself that with the Tamron 35 to 150, you are able to see a little bit more of the imperfections, which is okay. I mean, you get what you get when it comes down to these lenses. Obviously, if you're doing the more, I guess, expensive lenses from the Sony line with the G Masters, the in-body stabilization does tend to be quite nice, because then you have both of them working together from what I've seen. But I personally don't own any, so obviously can't give 100% of my input. It's just from the footage that I've seen from other YouTubers. But I have noticed that with the 17 to 28, it's a little bit more stable because of the wider focal range, which is one of the reasons why, you know, I guess the wider, it just doesn't show as much of the micro jitters as much as possible, like the more telephoto side of lenses, which makes sense because it's more focused in, so I feel like everything's so compressed that it just shows you the imperfections a lot easier. And using the 17 right now, it just seems like it's a little bit smoother when I'm looking at the camera. I mean, obviously my arm is going to move a bit, but mainly because I'm walking. And even if you had probably a stabilizer, your arm will still move up and down because it gets tiring. I had some of the clips that basically had warp stabilizer and some without, and then just using obviously the IBIS of the camera. I don't know if it made that much of a difference. You get to see it before I get to, I guess, see it in all honesty, but most of the time it tends to do a fairly well job if you add a lower minimum amount of percentage when it comes down to the warp stabilizer and poke, because a lot of the times if you do too much, it gets a little jello-y and obviously has to crop in more, and yeah, it doesn't get as pretty as it could be. So that's why I tend to not use it as much either. So I've taken the active stabilization off just to see if it makes that much of a difference. Yeah, I mean, this is just me walking around normally like how I would when I'm vlogging out here, trying to make my way over to that little bridge area, which because the sun came out a little bit over that building, and I just want to, you know, walk over there, enjoy the sunrise before finishing up this video and headed home. But is it a very noticeable difference when it comes down to the active body stabilization versus not, that's up to you to decide, I guess. I'm just showcasing some, footage to see if it helps you out to decide if you really need a lens that needs or has, I guess, body stabilization. So, it is what it is. Man, it's been a very nice morning here with this sunrise right now. Quite bright, but very nice. I got to take a couple of nice little self-portraits because it is the season to just, brag about yourself and feel confident. There's no such thing that I think is bad when it comes down to just being happy within yourself and just showcasing your moments of fun. And, if you need to do a little bit of some self-portraits to showcase your confidence, go for it. But yeah, right now the sun's hitting me straight in the eye, so I'm like squinting like there's no tomorrow. But anyways, I think the stabilization on the A7 IV, just within the camera itself, without having a lens that can do IBIS, is quite fine. I know it could be more perfect, but at the end of the day, the gear needs to just, help you out as much as it can, and you figure out a way to make it work within your means. That's what I tend to do when it comes down to most of these videos, despite of not always being 100% perfect or the best out there or the most professional. Sometimes it's just being active and just enjoying your time is all that matters, despite if any haters come out, because like I believe is the people that hate are the ones that can't create. So I should probably put like that on a shirt, so trademark already right here. So if you tend to use it, it's mine now. But in all honesty, I still believe that, I don't know. I just think that most people tend to just overanalyze things, and a lot of those, fearful comments where people might say like, oh, it was jittery here or wasn't perfect there. If you just do what you want to do and are happy with it, have at it. And for me, the Tamron 17 and 28 with a 35 to 150 has been phenomenal for me to go out to create and have fun. So that's all that matters to me. And it might be perfect, it might not be. But with the A7 IV's in-body stabilization, I think it's just right for what I need, and I don't need to be overdoing it too much. Now that I'll have a stabilizer soon enough, maybe I'll change my mind, but it'll be nice to not have to worry about always having to bring a stabilizer with me, or if it's like 100% perfect, and just rely on the active in-body stabilization of the A7 IV to just, create my videos. Got these birds back here. They're just really nice to see right now. Just enjoying the sun, I guess. I'm gonna try to, film them a little bit closer. Use a Tamron 35 to 150 and see, how smooth we can get them with the 60 frames per second, since the A7 IV has it cropped in. So maybe I can get even closer that way. Well, I got to take some of the videos and photos of the birds right now and just, get a little bit more footage to end with this video. And, hopefully it's helped you out when it comes down to just comparing a little bit more when it comes down to if the in-body stabilization of the A7 IV is good enough to just use without a lens that has in-body stabilization, like the Tamron 17 to 28 or the Tamron 35 to 150 that I'm using right now, because I got kind of lazy to switch it back over. So I have to be a little bit farther back since, I'm gonna be too up close and personal. And look at this, bam. Quite nice, I love this lens, so it's pretty great. But anyways, I think this has been a productive morning, and I hope you learned something with me today to know that you're okay with the lenses that you want to get, and the in-body stabilization of your A7 IV is probably going to do a phenomenal job when it comes down to most of the things that you're going to need it for. So there you go, that's pretty much it, and I thank you so much for watching this video. But with all that said and done, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, share this video with a friend. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.